You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining us is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Happy Friday, folks.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, Wife Dork.
Monkeys is the craziest peoples.
And also joining us is Brad Gullickson, Mouth Dork.
Get your hands off me, you damn dirty apes.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. I don't have a quote because I'm too congested.
No.
But welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast, Fistful Fridays.
TGIFF.
MFers. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday, Brian.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Lisa.
Happy Friday, Darren.
Happy Friday, Brad.
Yeah, happy Friday, Darren.
Happy Friday, me. This week, in honor of Isle of Dogs, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, we have a fistful of talking animals. Because who doesn't love talking animals?
Brian.
You don't like Mr. Ed?
That might be coming up.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Okay, all right.
Dipping into some TV.
Oh, yeah.
Is that your number 5?
No, actually, that'll be later. But I'm thinking I might cheat a little bit.
What
I don't
a
know if this is
tease.
part of the rules.
Oh,
It has to be an animal.
Yeah,
Not a reptile.
It's an animal, but I'm going animated.
that's fine.
Fine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah.
Okay, good. I didn't know because...
Is it Brian from Family Guy?
Is it a movie?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Man.
Brad's good at this
My
game.
list.
You like Brian? You like Brian for Family Guy?
Yeah.
You like
Even
Family
though
Guy?
it's a Brian with an I instead of
I know.
with a Y.
That bothers me slightly.
Are Brian's with the eyes more of the time? Are they jerks?
No, they're not. They can be. I want them to be, but I can't. I
Are
can't.
Brian's with a Y jerk?
No,
Yes. That's why he wants the Brian's with
It's
an I to be.
unfortunate because I worked with a Brian with a Y. He was like the biggest douche.
Oh,
Somewhere he said the same thing about you.
Actually, he couldn't, because I kept to
Was he-
myself.
I thought you were going to say he's mute.
I know. You're like, what happened to him?
So I'm going to go with animated. The one I thought about was one of my favorite films from 2011, which was Rango. And I'm going with Johnny Depp's. There's a couple characters in there I could have went with, but I'm going to go with Johnny Depp because I loved his performance as Rango. So I thought Johnny Depp did some incredible voice acting, and I love the way that Gore Verbinski actually went about shooting this film because they actually did the blocking and recorded all the actors doing the physical movements for the animators to animate them so they kind of know like the blocking and to also make the performances a little bit more authentic. But another one in this movie that I really liked was Bill Nye as the villain, as the snake.
The rattlesnake?
Yeah, the rattlesnake. So he was so good. But I absolutely love Rango. It's such a great
Great movie.
That movie is gorgeous.
It is. It's
That movie is gorgeous.
and I think that's the first and only film that was animated by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. So they did all the animation. And I've always been a proponent of this. I want them to do an animated Turtles film.
Not going to happen.
That needs to happen. And they need to do a Turtles film, Rango style. And
Do you want the turtles to look like actual turtles?
no, they could still look like
The cartoon versions?
a cartoon version or a new, different, a more updated version, but just have those textures, have like you say how beautiful it looks, and with ILM having that photorealistic look to it, and bring that into like a real world New York. I think it could be absolutely phenomenal. So that's what I want. But side tangent, but yeah, Rango's awesome film. Definitely check that one out.
Lisa, you're number 5, talking animal.
My number 5, I'm actually dipping into TV because I can't talk talking animals without talking about the PBS kids show Wishbone. I know that even I was a little old for Wishbone, but I was only allowed to watch educational programming as a child, and I love me some Wishbone.
I still don't know what the hell you're talking about.
So Wishbone is it stars a Jack Russell Terrier who has a family and that has family stories, but in his imagination, he has a passion for classic literature. So, like, something will happen in the family's life around the dog that will remind him of a piece of classic literature, and then Wishbone will dive into the classic literature and he'll play the main character. Now, this is a live action show. So imagine like a little Jack Russell Terrier, like all dressed up in Elizabethan garb, doing some Shakespeare. It is the best. But my all-time fave episode, Brad is shaking his head no this whole time. My favorite episode of Wishbone by far is the title of the episode is Flea Bitten Bargain, and Wishbone, the Jack Russell Terrier, plays Faust.
Yes.
And so, like, it's like this little puppy dog, and he's bargaining for his very soul.
Yes.
So the plot that goes, like, in the family part is a salesman offers Joe, I don't remember who Joe is, a virtual reality machine, but only in exchange for Wishbone. So somebody tries to trade this amazing piece of technology for somebody's dog, and then Wishbone, in his imagination, goes into the story of Faust. And what, to me, whenever I can't think of Faust without thinking about my music degree as we're studying the operas of Charles Gounod and the opera of Faust, I'm like, I know what this opera's about because I watched Wishbone.
Yeah.
Public broadcasting for the win. So,
Preparing you for life.
also Schubert. Schubert is my favorite version of Faust. But after Wishbone, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not boring. It's so cute. And
like opera
putting
bread.
this fistful together makes me want to rewatch some Wishbone.
Yeah, you
Not
got that
gonna
in your
lie.
future, Brad.
I'm not going to make Brett. He's going to shit on and make me sad. So you're not invited.
Okay, good.
What's your number 5, B?
For my fistful, I'm sticking with the Isle of Dogs theme, and I'm picking nothing but canines for my list.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking blood from A Boy and His Dog because I always bring up blood from A Boy and His Dog. So if you haven't seen that movie, that is easily my number one talking dog. Check that out. Young baby Don Johnson. So for my number 5, I'm going way back to the year 2000. And the Adam Sandler classic Little Nicky.
Oh, God.
And I am picking Mr. Beefy the Bulldog as my number 5. If you recall, the plot of this film is that Harvey Keitel's devil dad, his two sons, I think it's Tiny Lister Jr. and Rice Iphans, they jet off to the surface world, and they're two demons, and they're causing chaos. And the devil gets his third son, who's, the runt of the litter, played by Adam Sandler, Little Nicky, to go hunt down his two roaming demon children. And Little Nicky, he has to get up onto Earth, and he has to learn the lay of the land. And through the aid of Mr. Beefy, the talking bulldog, he learns how to, rent an apartment, how to go grocery shopping, where the waste goes, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Mr. Beefy.
I do not remember that movie. I just remember Quentin Tarantino being in it.
Yeah, he's the crazy priest.
Yeah. That's all. I don't even remember a dog being in it.
It's terrible. Robert Smigel's the voice of...
I was going to say, what did it sound like?
He sounds like Triumph the Insult Talking Dog.
Oh, okay. All right.
Insult Comic Dog. Damn
Yeah,
it.
brought Little Nicky to the podcast.
Yeah, for the first time.
Shit.
First
All right.
time appearance of Little Nicky.
You're welcome, Adam
It's
Sandler.
fine.
Welcome to In Mind. All right, my number 5 is Adam Baldwin as Animal in Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
But no, his name's Animal. He talks. But, there are a bunch of horrifying things in that film, in Stanley Kubrick's depiction of that war and the people in it, people affected by it. And the reason why he's on my list because when I saw this at a young age, obviously, and Animal was one of the scariest things about that film to me. Animal is what can happen to a person when they feel like it's better for them to just let go of their humanity when they're in those that particular type of environment. Because when you care, you can get hurt. You have something to lose. You have the possibility of losing it and having to live with that loss. So it's easier to say, screw it, I don't care about anything. I just want to kill these people, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm good at. That's what I'm going to do. And just that idea that a circumstance can push people to that point to where they don't care anymore because they care. And it's basically self-preservation, and they're just trying to survive. That's an interesting thing. I've said on the podcast before, I'm really into psychology and how the human mind works. And Animal, that character, and how he's played by Baldwin, it's just an interesting character for me. I mean, he comes off as just like really crazy, and he's brash, and he's rude. He doesn't care. He just wants to kill. He's racist, and he's calling all these these derogatory names to the enemy. But to me, the conversation is just the idea of how Animal became that. Like what, and you can see from his environment and what's going on in the rest of that film how he became that. And so, that's my number 5. Brian, your number 4.
So this is the one that I'm going to TV, which is Mr. Ed. I think I may have talked about him before, or maybe it just came up.
You've talked about it before.
Yeah, I remember talking about this before. I love this show. I discovered this show on Nick at Night. I was a big Nickelodeon kid, and I used to always watch Nick at Night. And that 2-hour block from 8 to 10 was like Mr. Ed, Patty Duke, My Three Sons, and Jesus, what was that?
Green Acres?
No, not Green Acres. Patty Duke was another one I like. My Three Sons. I can't remember the other one.
All in the Family?
No, it was a black and white show. It was a black and white show. Can't remember what it was, but those were some of the shows I watched. And Mr. Ed, I absolutely love, with Wilbur and of course Ed, and then always having to hide from his wife that the horse could talk, and how they made
Wilbur.
That's good. That's the best impression you've ever done, man. That was great.
Thank you.
I mean it.
Yeah, and how they made the horse talk with the peanut butter around the gums, which also still boggles my mind, because if you're in the scene with him and Wilbur is talking to Ed, when Wilbur stops talking, how does Ed know when to make his mouth move?
Electric shock?
It can't
Dear
be
Lord.
good. We were watching First Blood the other night, and Stallone is just chucking rats. I'm like, this isn't right. Poor animals. Sorry. Oops.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, especially if there's no cuts, like how do they talk back and forth?
Have you ever peanut buttered an animal?
No.
Oh. What?
Is that a thing? Have you done
To
it?
get animals to talk?
No.
Peanut butter.
I'm going to do that to Akuma. Wait, is that animal abuse before I do that?
I don't know, but I did it to Bridget, my dog.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, dogs love peanut
Yeah,
butter.
yeah, and they look like they're talking, like Mr. Ed.
But the thing is, as soon as it stops eating the peanut butter, you don't just put it down.
I hope this sentence never gets taken out of context, but I definitely used to peanut butter Bridget, so she and I pretend that she'd call me Wilbur.
Oh,
Nice.
I want a peanut butter Akuma.
That's not the weirdest story about Brad and Bridget.
Oh, okay.
Her gums are warm.
Yikes, Lisa, you're number 4.
My number 4, I'm going for Winnie the Pooh.
Yay.
I love Winnie the Pooh, but when I think Winnie the Pooh, I think the book, the A.A. Milne book with the original little hand-drawn illustrations. When I was little, clear up until middle school, my mom would read to me and my little brother before bed. And I remember lying on my mom's bed and her finishing the last chapter of Winnie the Pooh, and Christopher Robin is leaving the 100-acre wood, and you just get the sense that he's never going to come back because he's all grown up. And even now, just talking about it, and I was like, I was in 6th grade, I was going on to 7th grade, it just really got me. And it was me and my mom crying over this Winnie the Pooh book. And so when the trailer came out, and of course I loved the cartoons. My little brother was a little bit more into the cartoon. I remember watching them with John more than I remember watching them on my own with the Heffalumps. So scary.
I love the Winnie the Pooh show.
Yeah.
Tigger was my favorite. I had a plush Tigger that you put him down and he would like bounce. Hold on.
I always liked Eeyore. I have always
Eeyore
felt
too.
like
He
an
was so
Eeyore is so
sad.
fucking sad. I identify with Eeyore and Piglet. If I was anybody, I'm a mix. I'm like a mix of Eeyore and Piglet, just neurotic and sad.
The wonderful thing about Tiggers, the Tiggers are wonderful things. They fancy fun.
The
Their heads are
tops
made out of
are made
rubber.
of the bottoms are made out of strings. And they bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. The wonderful thing about Tigger
is that
I'm the only one. I'm the only one.
I
So
love
good.
Tigger.
So
Losers.
good. So when the trailer came on with Domhnall Gleeson, like playing, so I thought
Not Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor. No, Domhnall Gleeson's playing the other one.
Oh, okay.
There's two Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
That's
movies.
confusing.
Oh shit! So it's like a Deep Impact Armageddon
It
all
is.
over again.
It is.
love
I didn't know how to feel about seeing, because they illustrate him like the illustrations from the book.
Yeah.
They animate him like the illustrations from the book, but then he has the voice of the cartoon Pooh. I'm just like, stop touching my
weird.
feels. Like,
Yeah.
just quit it. You know.
Is Tigger in that trailer?
Yeah. Well, no, he's
No,
not in
he's
the
not
trailer,
in the
but he's in
trailer.
the film.
But like it's like a CGI real
Yeah,
Tigger?
yeah. And there's gonna be Eeyore. Brad Garrett is voicing Eeyore.
Oh yeah.
I'm all for. I'm coming around. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
I turned to Brad. I'm like, oh, so they're hooking Winnie the Pooh because it's like, you know, like Peter Pan, like grown up Peter Pan. No, it's grown up.
Oh, I thought you meant
Christopher
like
Robin.
they're hooking Peter Pan and hooking Winnie the Pooh.
Oh.
What?
Hitting the street.
Oh, in the
Hook
street.
it.
Oh, that's after Christopher Robin left the 100-acre wood. Then
got dark.
Iceberg Slim showed up.
Oh no.
he moved to the wrong side of the wood. He was on the back 50.
Oh shit! Those acres are dangerous. All right, Brad, your number 4.
My number 4 is still kind of a dog. It's Falcor from the Never Ending Story. He's a flying dog,
Okay.
as voiced by Alan Oppenheimer, who like voiced all the creatures in the film.
Yeah.
The Never Ending Story. This idea. I mean, it's such a Brad story, such a nerd story of this kid trying to escape the world, and he dives into this book, and he's transported into this fantasy world of Atreyu and Falcor and the princess and rock biters and all. Like it's such a fantastic fantasy film. It's everything I wanted Wrinkle in Time to be. We talked about that in our review cast a couple weeks back. So I rewatched Neverending Time in the wake of that, and
Never Ending Time.
I mean, sorry, Neverending Story, because I wanted Wrinkle in Time to be it, and I think it holds up. It is super 80s. It came out in 1984, and it feels of that era, but the texture and the melodrama, it all hits for me still.
Yeah, that's a great movie. All right, my number 4 is Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
From the movie with Leah Thompson
yeah.
and Holly Robinson. She was one of the band members, if I'm not mistaken. And what's the guy, the scientist dude?
Tim Robbins.
No, not Tim Robbins.
The bad guy, Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones. I used to love that movie. I was shocked. And so when that movie first came out, I was a huge fan of it. But at that time, I wasn't aware of, we didn't have social media and Facebook and Twitter, so I didn't know what other people's opinions were of that movie. I just know I loved Howard the Duck. It's an awesome movie, so the world must love Howard the Duck.
Yep.
And it took some time before I would realize that people dog on that movie and say it's a shitty movie or it's not a good movie.
They're all wrong.
I don't understand what they're talking about. It's a great movie. It's weird as shit because it's a duck from outer space that can talk. And then there's these monsters coming out of this other dimension and shit. But
once you get over that, it's like a total romantic comedy.
it is. So,
It's great. I love that film.
I love that movie. That's my number 4. Brian, your number 3.
Okay. My list. Where'd it go? Okay.
Rocksteady and Bebop.
Ooh, that's a good one.
They're animals. They talk. They're not
but
mutations. That don't count.
I wouldn't consider them mutated animals because they're not actual.
That's stupid, Darren. Come on.
But is it? Oh, well, how the fuck is he going to talk?
No, because they're mutated animals. They're
Right.
actual people.
They're mutated
They have,
what?
mutated, but
Animals.
half-breed humans. They have arms and legs, so they walk.
We're animals. We talk, right?
So we can use one. We can use humans.
Did you hear my number 5 pick?
All right, I'm not. But I'm not doing that.
Okay, so no Bebop and Rocksteady. Sorry, listeners who thought you knew Turtle Dork. You don't know him.
They probably don't.
I don't know you either. Number 3.
Where am I at? Number 3. I'm going to the recent iteration of Planet of the Apes and going with Andy Serkis Caesar, because that is an actual. I was about to say amphibian.
Wow.
I'm all over the place, man. It's all
Primate.
good.
That is an actual.
We're all tired and drunk
A
here.
primate, yes.
yeah.
And I mean, just going to the performances. Of course, we've talked about Andy Serkis, and throughout the arc of
I think
those.
if you're going to go with Circus and Caesar, you can go with Rocksteady and Bebop, though. Because Caesar's mutated.
But he's, I'm just not choosing Rocksteady and Bebop. No.
You're subverting expectations. Good for you.
That's what I like to do. So, Planet of the Apes. Yeah, so Andy Serkis as Caesar, and seeing the speaking specifically to him talking, seeing the progression throughout the arc of those 3 films, with him starting to talk, where you see it at the end of Rise, when he says that one word to James Franco, and then how he has the broken language in the second film, Dawn, and even seeing how that kind of progresses into War. But I love how Matt Reeves just kind of takes the evolution of that character and the speaking patterns of that character, and just kind of grow along with everything else that he's doing to evolve that franchise. It's just masterful, that whole franchise from beginning to end. What Matt Reeves and Andy Serkis have done together for that story and that character. So, I mean, as soon as I thought about it, I said he definitely has to be on the list.
Brad, I'm shocked you decided to go the whole dog route, because I was assuming that was going to be like your number 1.
I mean,
Talking.
I had a list before the All Dogs, but I felt like they were all films that I've talked a lot about before already. I would have included Caesar. I would have included Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
I would not have included Mr. Ed. But I wanted to stick with the dogs and I love dogs, because I love dogs.
Every
Like,
list
I
can't be
love dogs.
perfect, Brad.
That's a fact.
There's one of our neighbors got a baby Cocker Spaniel. It is about the cutest thing I've ever seen.
He's just like a little sack of bones. That
He's
little
so
fragile
cute.
thing.
He's like so delicate because he's such like a little baby.
Oh, Lisa, you're cute number 3.
My number 3 is a very cute animal because it is Babe.
Ah, yes.
A little pig goes a long way. That's the tagline.
Talking bacon.
Yeah, he's so cute. Is this another one? This is one where they like actually. This movie came out in
CGI
1995, so they CGI. They didn't peanut butter these animals. They just added in the flappity flap of the mouth.
I've never seen Babe.
It's so sweet. What I've never seen, and I really feel like I should
in the
see
City?
is I've never seen Pig in a City,
See that.
and I hear that it's quality. I hear that it's really good.
Who directed that one?
I don't know. Somebody should Google it.
Oh, Darren knows. He's smiling. Look at his
Oh,
shirt.
wait, is this a quiz? Because I don't know.
Look at his shirt.
For reals?
George Miller.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's such a strong film.
Mm-hmm.
But the original Babe stars a pig,
Mm-hmm.
and also James Cromwell plays the farmer.
Oscar nominated for that, if I remember correctly.
And he
You like
does it.
old guys, Brad.
I feel like
I like old guys.
I feel like there's a moment when he sings like an Irish song with a tear in his eye. It's been many years since I've seen this.
We should
this
watch it.
film.
Man, you should.
But so the pig, for some reason, he starts herding. Like he has this passion for herding sheep. But they don't listen to him because he's a little pig. And so he learns the like secret sheep magic words. Ba ram you, something other stuff. I can't remember.
Glatu Barada Niktu.
But I just remember it being a really sweet story. And I do kind of want a pig. But did you know that even the little teacup pigs, for one thing, they're super smart. And they get real lonely, so you have to leave the TV on for them because they've got brains like tiny humans trapped inside a pig. And then even the little teacup ones grow up to be like 30 pounds. Like pigs, no matter what, they don't stay small and cute. They get real big.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my number 3. It was either that or The Witches, and The Witches has already been on a fistful.
That's
I don't think
true.
I've ever talked about Babe.
Not no Happy Feet. Talking penguins.
I've never seen Happy Feet, even with my love of penguins
And the love of music and
and
song.
the love of, it just weirdly never came up.
And Elijah Wood is greatest. What?
Maybe I should see
Gotta
it.
get you to see Happy Feet. Did we know that?
Double
we said that?
feet.
I've never seen Happy Feet.
Oh,
Neither of us have.
who directed Happy Feet?
I mean,
George
I know.
Miller.
Correct.
Really?
Yeah.
No way! Triple feet.
Yes. Babe, Pick in the City, Happy Feet, and Mad Max Fury Road.
Do you know a movie that I loved that George Miller did not direct but probably should have was Baby to Stay Out, where you just watch a baby avoid being killed?
Baby's Day. I did not see that movie.
It's like
I
a
have seen
Mr. Magoo kind of thing, but it's an infant.
Oh, no.
It's terrifying.
It is really scary, but for some reason my family really liked it.
All right. Brad, you're number 3?
Yeah, so I've been pulling out movies that I don't normally talk about, and I guarantee you this film has never been mentioned on this podcast, like Little Nicky.
Uh-oh.
It's going to celebrate its 10th year anniversary this year, and it is Bolt. I'm picking the
John
dog
Travolta.
Bolt, as voiced by John Travolta. I love this movie.
I saw that movie in 3D. It was good.
Bolt is a Rin Tin Tin like actor, but he doesn't realize that the show he's in, this dog version of James Bond, is actually BS. So when he gets out into the real world, he still thinks he's a badass super spy dog, but he's just a dumb dog voiced by John Travolta. Miley Cyrus voices Penny. Yeah,
That's Miley Cyrus?
Yep. Young Miley
What?
Cyrus, Hannah Montana herself. Susie Essman is Mittens. It's good stuff. It's a great show. It's a great film. I think it's time. If you're like, Brad, you brought up Little Nicky, and now you're bringing up Bolt. Dude, do yourself a favor. Rewatch Bolt. Don't rewatch Little Nicky.
I was going to say, I'll watch both. I'm not rewatching Little Nicky.
Don't do that. But yeah, so Bolt.
Great pick. My number 3 is also from Neverending Story, but it is not a talking luck dragon. It is a talking, hulking, huge, black, evil wolf.
The Nothing.
No, the nothing was the wind. The wolf is darkness.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So for everything you said, Brad, the same type of reaction you had to the film now, and even as a kid, is the same reaction that I had. I remember seeing that movie in the theaters. Perfect fantasy film for me. Like, I mean, granted, the technology is different, but thinking about what we saw in Wrinkle in Time, and we there was some really striking imagery in that film, flaws and all, but like the key word that you mentioned when you were talking about Neverending Story, Brad, was texture. The rock biters comes to mind. Mm-hmm. That sequence, and how that sequence was staged to give the impression of their size. And just the uniqueness of those characters, and you had the giant turtle in the swamps of sadness, if I'm not mistaken, that huge talking turtle.
Yep.
I don't know. Like I just really think that that's a unique fantasy film. It's set the bar like pretty high, and to my recollection, like I don't know that there's another film that has been done, a fantasy film that has been done as well as Neverending Story, like back in those days, especially in modern times. We haven't had a Neverending Story yet, and so I don't know. It's if you haven't seen it, please check it out. Highly recommend it. Even though it's an 80s film and some stuff in there is dated, the key stuff, the core stuff, the story, the emotional beats, all those things still hit. When Atreyu loses, I'm not gonna. If you haven't seen it, but the swamps of sadness are still sad.
Oh
even
man,
today.
brutal.
So we'll talk about that after you see it. But
It's full of horses.
yeah. That's shit. That's my number 3. Brian, you're number 2.
Looking at my list here, I think mine's just not really in any particular order. So I think Planet of the Apes probably would have been number 1.
So you want me to edit that? We fix that later.
It's fine. It's fine. So I'm gonna go. This is a weird one because I was thinking talking animals, but it's only an animal that talks during like a dream sequence, and that is from the recent film with Key and Peele, Keanu.
Oh yeah.
Yay!
When the cat has Keanu Reeves' voice. I just thought that was funny because we heard the rumors that Keanu Reeves was actually going to do some voiceover work in the film. And I know recently he decided not to, but then like I guess he got the synopsis from Key and Peele, and he's like, okay, I'll come in and I'll do it. And when you see it, like, and they have the Matrix music, it's so cool. And then when you just hear, you see the cat just talking with Keanu's voice, it's perfect. Especially with the name of that movie and his name being Keanu.
I was surprised at that part.
I need to watch that.
I mean,
again.
it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's so obvious, but when that part came up, I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. It
Is that
does.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, it does come out of left field. And I recently watched it right after the Oscars, after Jordan Peele won his Oscar. I said, let me watch Keanu. I'm not gonna watch Get Out.
That movie is funny as shit.
It's
not as good as you want it to be.
But it definitely, rewatching it, there are a lot of great comedic moments in that. And again,
they're so great together in it.
They are.
They play, and Tiffany Haddish. Oh my god! Like I didn't
which I didn't even know.
When
that
I first saw it, I didn't know her as I know her now.
I know.
And finding out that was her, and you're like, wait, that was Tiffany Haddish.
And she's got some great moments in there too. And Method Man is great.
I still want to talk about Tiffany Haddish. If you look at her character in Girls Trip, and how when she's at the award show and like her public persona her energy, when you think about her character in Keanu, I mean, I think that's a testament to her acting because she's a police officer for one. Spoiler alert: she's an undercover cop that has to act like a gangster. So she's a woman playing a cop, acting like a gangster, and she's not the goofy, crazy, carefree Tiffany Haddish that she is in Girls Trip. She's not that personality that she is in her interviews. She's a single character, a unique character in that film, and she pulls that off like expertly. I wouldn't know that she was a comedian. I didn't know at that time when it came out, before I knew of the name Tiffany. I didn't know she was a comedian.
Yeah,
but she was
I think
great.
I think it was really going to be a good sign. She has a film coming out with Melissa McCarthy next year called The Kitchen, which is based off, I think it's a Vertigo comic.
It's a Vertigo Vertigo DC comic.
Yeah, set in Hell's Kitchen in the 1970s about these female women. There's almost like I think Melissa McCarthy plays like a mob boss. So it seems like there's really want to have a dark.
The story is, and I know this because I did the news piece for Film School Region.
Oh, okay.
The story is 3 mob wives have to take over their husband's business when they're thrown into prison, into jail, and they get to like it.
Yeah, and I think
So it's like a League of Their Own, but it's like mobsters.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think I was reading some stuff about they think because they cast Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish that they might go a comedic route, but like you say, just that idea, that storyline lends itself to a darker, very, I don't know, real world gritty type of story. It's going to be interesting to see Tiffany Haddish and Melissa McCarthy really dive into like darker characters like that.
Yeah, I hope it leans dark rather than comic.
I think it will, because I think people still have that misconception about comedic actors. We hear it now with Kristen Wiig being cast as Cheetah. Like I don't see it, but they don't remember like all these different comedic actors who have had all these great dramatic roles.
Kristen Wiig herself has done great dramatic work.
Exactly. So
Really
I never understand why people can never make that correlation between comedic acting and dramatic roles. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm excited for the Kitchen just because of the
Shit, Paul Thomas Anderson wants to work with Tiffany Haddish. That's freaking dope.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for her success for this past year. Or she's been blowing up. Good pick, Lisa.
Yes.
Let's see. Your number 2.
I think, like Brian, I didn't put mine in any particular order because clearly Wishbone would have been my number 1. It's number 1 in my heart. Sweet stories about me and my mom sharing Winnie the Pooh aside.
I can fix that in editing if you want.
And certainly my number 2 should not be the 1995 classic movie Congo.
What the fuck?
With Amy the Gorilla.
Wait, he talked?
She had
Amy,
robot.
good gorilla.
Oh,
Amy,
yeah.
good gorilla.
She spoke sign language, but it was digitally translated into a voice.
She
My wife
wore the
was in that
power
movie,
glove.
right?
Which one?
Congo, Charlize Theron.
No, it's Laura Linney.
Oh.
She's my wife.
That's right.
I'm thinking
Laura
about
Linney
Mighty
and
Joe Young.
Mighty Joe Young and Ernie Hudson. Ernie
Jeez,
Hudson.
Congo. I hate that movie.
Congo's terrible.
Sorry.
It's the worst, but the best?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the worst.
No, it's terrible.
It's
But I love
funny
it.
because, like,
it.
you know, in between while you guys are talking, I'm listening attentively, but I'm also scrolling through the plot of this movie, and I'm like, I don't remember any of this.
This was a great Michael Crichton book. When I read it in 7th grade, anyway, I loved this novel. And the movie does all the plot points, if I remember correctly, but man, is it terrible.
In the production section on the Wikipedia page, it was Crichton who initially pitched this movie to 20th Century Fox before he had even finished the story. Sure. And here, I'm going to quote directly from the Wikipedia page. However, the film ran into problems when Crichton learned that they could not use a real gorilla to portray the character of Amy, which led him to leaving the project.
Oh, wow.
But
Those were Stan Winston gorillas.
yeah,
Man, I don't
and they
remember
were
that film.
creepy,
They're terrible.
uncanny valley of apes. Terrifying. But
That whole, Crichton was an interesting dude because, before Jurassic Park, he was a best-selling novelist and he already had his fingers in Hollywood and, they had adapted the Andromeda Strain and the Great Train Robbery and he directed the original Westworld. But then, like, Jurassic Park hit and they were like, every Crichton novel must be a film. Congo, Rising Sun, Sphere, and they were all terrible. Yeah. I kind of like Rising Sun.
All right.
But could they make Congo now with all of the beautiful technology that they have?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
That'd
they
be
could.
awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, great pick.
But it's still a bizarre story where there's like this ape and they get her to talk and then they find out, oh my God, she's got feelings and nightmares. And then it turns out that she's like connected to this like ghost tribe of abused gorillas in Africa. And Tim Curry's like, I'm coming.
Give me the diamonds.
It's a bizarre story, but fun.
All right, great pick.
Ernie Hudson's accent.
Yeah, wow. Brian, you're number 2?
No, wait, Brad.
Brad.
You're
My
number
name's
2.
Brad. My number 2 is another CGI talking dog, and that's Doug the dog. Squirrel!
Oh, yeah.
From Up. 2009, a year after Bolt. Up is my all-time favorite Pixar movie. Obviously it destroys all of us in the first 10 minutes. It's absolutely brutal. But I love how that film then becomes this Doc Savage pulp adventure story after the house gets picked up by a bunch of balloons. That movie is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy movie. And I think every moment of it works. People are like, oh, it's only good for the first 10 minutes because of the heart and the sadness. No, that whole film is brilliant. There are evil pack dogs, and there's Doug the dog. Don't give him the cone of shame. Squirrel! Your pick, Darren.
All right. If Doug the dog's your number 2, I know what your number 1 is.
No, you don't.
I do.
No.
I know what it better be.
Nope.
It's not the dog from Meteor Man.
No. It's a good dog, though.
It's a great dog. My number 2 is dedicated to Lisa. Of course, it's Animal from the Muppets.
Yay!
My favorite Muppet. I just love Animal. I've loved him ever since I was a kid because he seemed unrestrained a lot of the times especially when he was on drums. He'd just be flailing about, and
It's an animal of passion, a monster of passion.
I like that idea because I like the idea of just being able to be impulsive, like when you feel it, and be unrestrained in doing that, to express yourself freely. Like Animal is pure physical and emotional expression. Like whatever he's feeling, like he'll wear it on his face, he'll wear it in his movements and behavior. Like I love Animal. My favorite side of him is just when he's just wailing away on the drums. Yeah.
He is the only Muppet to be a kaiju as well. When he went into the shop and ate all of those pills and got real big.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's awesome. And because Animal is awesome. That's my number 2 animal on a fistful of talking animals. Brian. I have no idea. Well, I know what your number 1 is because you already said it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what your number last thing you're going to say.
My fifth pick.
Your fifth. Yeah. What's your fifth pick?
It is, again, because I don't have a vast knowledge of the specific Fistful title for animals. I'm going with just recent stuff that just came out. So I think the last couple of years it was Disney's Jungle Book.
No.
Oh yeah.
Which one? Which one?
The live act. Oh, which animal?
Yeah, which animal?
Man, all of them.
No, you gotta pick
You
one.
say Scarlett Johansson?
That's what made me think of this movie because I was thinking Scarlett Johansson as the snake.
She's slithering
I
around
can't
in your
remember
brain
the
all the
name.
time.
That can't be her only animal voiceover.
Well, she did voiceover for her, but that's not an animal.
Yeah.
But there's so many different voices I love in that movie. Actually, the two that stands out are Bill Murray as Baloo and
Idris.
Idris
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. Yeah, but I was
so
thinking
Christopher Walken.
Ben Kingsley. As, what's the black?
Wolf.
The Black Panther. No, but
He's the Black Panther.
Lupita Nyong'o as the wolf, as the mother, and then Giancarlo Esposito. This has a great cast of so many excellent voiceover work. But yeah, Idris Elba as Shere Khan is just phenomenal. That's pitch perfect casting. But yeah, those are the two that stood out was Baloo, Bill Murray, and Ben Kingsley. I thought they did a great job, and then the fact that they go on the journey with Mowgli throughout this whole film. So I think those are the two voice actors that really stand out the most in that film. And I personally actually absolutely loved The Jungle Book. They're talking about doing a sequel. I don't know what type of story you can tell with a sequel with Mowgli. I mean, if they're going to use the same actor, then he'll probably have to age him up since he probably will hit puberty at some point.
He'll be 30 years old before this sequel comes out.
Yeah, I know, especially with John Favreau.
But it ends with him growing up and
What
moving
about
back
Andy
into the village.
Serkis's?
That's
Jungle
coming.
Book?
That's supposed to be coming out later this year, and they changed the title. It's called Mowgli, and it's supposed to be a darker version of that story. So I'm interested to see what he does with his story of the Jungle Book, and he has a good cast too. But yeah, and of course Jon Favreau is going off to do The Lion King, which will be another movie of talking animals that we'll probably be able to revisit
It'll
couple
be
of
on
years.
Brian's list.
Yeah, I'll have Donald Glover as Simba on there somewhere. So, but yeah, of course, I love this movie. I love Jon Favreau, so that's my fifth pick.
All right.
Scarlett Johansson is a voice in I Love Dogs. I completely forgot about that.
yeah,
so that ties in very nicely.
Nice.
So Zootopia couldn't get no love on your list.
Zootopia. Oh yeah. I know you like.
Zootopia's great.
Zootopia is great.
What's the bunny's name? Hop something. What's her name?
Officer Hops. No, that's not right.
Judy Hopps.
Yes.
Judy Hopps. Yeah. That is a great movie.
Of course, the dad knows.
Yeah. You know how I remember it? Picturing Sia, hearing Sia say it in my head. Judy Hopps. Judy. Lisa, your number one and your fistful of talking animals.
My number one is also Planet of the Apes, but it's the 1968 Planet of the Apes.
50 years old last month.
God damn.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
No,
And
this month. No, last month, February.
Oh, 60, so 68. Okay.
And the character I'm going for as the one who is my number 5 is Zira, as played by Kim Hunter. And Brad and I were at
Third Eye Comics.
Third Eye Comics in Annapolis.
Yeah.
And they have a tremendous pop figure collection. Brad had made some purchases.
Yeah.
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. But I was very disturbed when we came along the Planet of the Apes pops, and there is no Zira pop. There's a Cornelius, there's a Dr. Zaius, there are there's one of the random gorilla guards, but there's no Zira, which is insane because she's like the main ape. She's like the main character. So I thought that was super lame. What about the Adorbs? Because we have some of the Adorbs.
There is a Zira Dorbs.
Okay, good. Phew. But I found that offensive. I'm like, this is straight up sexism. And then I took and I cleared the shelves and I threw pops everywhere in my head. It was a dream sequence.
Okay.
But yeah.
Instead, we dropped a ton of dough on.
I was gonna say, where was that Instagram?
I think Zira is an amazing character. She is a woman. She is a scientist. She opens her heart to this strange and ugly creature, and she sees the fault in her society through the eyes of this creature, and she does what's right. She takes an enormous risk. So she's an amazing character. She's amazing. She'd probably be offended. She would probably call me an animal, but in my heart, she's a freaking hero.
All right, great pick.
And she should have a pop, Funko.
You should write them. You know what? There's a pop of everything. Her pop's coming. Yeah. Sexy Jeff Goldblum. This close to getting one. You'll see. Stay tuned. Brad, your number one in your fistful of talking animals is the talking dog.
Cosmo the space dog. You see him for seconds in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
He doesn't talk.
But he doesn't talk in the film. But he does talk in the movies. And he just didn't open his mental telepathy up to you yet, Brian.
Okay.
They need to bring Cosmo back.
Because I thought about that too.
Yeah.
I thought about Cosmo, but he doesn't speak.
Yeah, well, you just didn't hear him yet. But he will. He
okay.
will. I'm sure he was saying some really heinous shit to Rocket when he was staring at him. But Cosmo the space dog, he was a Soviet test dog. Back in the 60s, he was launched up into space. And his shuttle, through a series of cosmic shenanigans, ends up in the space station of Nowhere in the comic books, which is a little bit different than the Nowhere that you see in Guardians of the Galaxy. And he becomes like the person who runs that station. He's the captain of the station, and he has run-ins with Nova, and he has run-ins with Guardians of the Galaxy. He hates Rocket. You got a little taste of that in the film with that little growl. I don't think Cosmo the space dog would lick the Collector's face the way you see him lick the Collector's face in the post-credit sequence of Guardians of the Galaxy, but we got a version of Cosmo. What's great, if you go to the Disneyland Adventure and you take the Guardians of the Galaxy Tower of Terror ride, it recreates the Collector's collection, and you get to see an animatronic version of Cosmo the space dog. And so I've taken a selfie with him. We're buds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
does he talk though?
No, he just growls at you. We're going to get Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going into space again with Infinity War and Avengers 4. Let's have some more Cosmo. Actually, let's also have that Seth Green Howard the Duck.
Who voices your Cosmo?
Ooh, Timothy Olyphant.
Wow, I love that casting.
Doing a Russian accent?
Ooh.
Can't say Peter Stormare because he's every Russian.
No.
Actually,
I think he spent so much time in space. He's gotten rid of that Russian accent, and it's Timothy Olyphant. He's gained a Southern accent.
I ain't mad at Timothy Olyphant. All right, great pick. My number one in my fistful of talking animals, 2 words: chaos reigns. And that is the Chaos Fox from Antichrist. That movie is nuts. Talking Fox is frigging nuts.
Wow. That movie.
Yeah, that movie is harsh. But the idea of a talking animal, the reason why this is my number one, because there's a scene in the movie was a dream sequence. Is that a dream sequence?
I don't know what's happening.
I don't even think that's a dream sequence. I think
that's just their life and mental capacity shattering.
Willem Dafoe is in the woods, and he comes upon this fox. The way the scene is lit, the way the scene is shot, and the mood, and just the tension in the film and what's going on with the characters. I mean, the movie starts off on a bugged out note, and it only gets worse. So anyway, with all those elements combined, when this scene happens, he's in the woods and he sees this fox come out to the opening, and the fox turns to him and he says those 2 words: chaos reigns. And it's just so unsettling. Firstly, because the way that it looks. If I'm not mistaken, that was an animatronic fox. And secondly, because of what's going on in the movie, because of how it looks, because of the practical effect of it, because it's a talking animal. For me personally, when I watch that, I'm looking at what if I were in that situation and an animal does talk? It's not going to be cute like Mr. Ed, to me, especially if it's that fucking fox. it's going to be extremely unsettling and scary, probably. And so I think that scene encapsulates that. Like, if I were to see a talking animal, like, that'd be nuts. I would try to make some money off of Akuma if she could do it. But the first time she does it, I'm going to shit my pants. Can you imagine that, though? Like Akuma's been over here, right?
Yeah.
Once. So imagine she was sitting right here, and we're doing this podcast, and you heard another voice say something. And you know
reigns.
it's not Lisa's, and you know it's not Brian's, and you know it's not my nasally voice.
I'd be like, the strangers.
That'd be nuts. So yeah, like it's a creepy moment and a creepy film that I think Lars von Trier pulled off perfectly.
It is my favorite Lars von Trier film. It's really the only one that I can watch.
Yeah.
But man, that is a unsettling picture.
Yeah.
All of his films are unsettling.
Yep.
But this is a watchable unsettling movie.
Yeah. So that's my number one in my fistful of talking animals. You can hit us up on social media at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Brian Young is the Turtle Dork on Twitter, Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and Brian William Young on Facebook. Lisa Gullickson is at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Brad Gullickson is at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Tap. Oh, Brad, Black Panther could have been on your list, right?
Yeah, it's a panther, though.
But he's an animal. He's a person, right?
Yeah. I mean, he could be on somebody's list. He wouldn't have been on my list.
Okay. And I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go see Pacific Rim 2. Go see Isle of Dogs.
Of
Obviously. Go see Insane.
Yeah.
Go see Sherlock. No,
don't do that.
no.
Yeah.
Our review cast is going to be Pacific
Sherlock.
Rim.
No.
Yeah. So, like, in a couple days.
Why did I pluralize it? Pacific Rims. All of the rims.
Yay.
Our Pacific Rim Uprising review cast will be coming out in a couple days now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure our Weekend Dork will have a little Isle of Dog love, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah. So we got that, and also the Phase 2 MCU review.
Oh, yeah, that's coming out in a few
Ladies
days.
and gentlemen, we're
I'm
getting
watching
close.
Ant-Man tonight.
Yeah. I just watched that right before we recorded. So
That's right. Be on the lookout for our next review cast of the next phase in the MCU as we work our way towards Avengers Infinity War. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Watch some movies. And until next time.